There is a saying that when you see a bunch of men with one woman in their midst, be extremely careful with the woman because of what it has taken for her to sit with the men. Same way, when you see a bunch of white people hang out with one black guy, be more mindful of the black guy because of what it has taken for him to be actually accepted by the white people. Ladies and gentlemen, on the 35th anniversary of Namibia's Independence Day, they chose a new political path. They elected their first ever female president. And many wondered if she was up for the rigorous nature of the job of running a country. Well, since she took office in March of this year, Madame Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah has been talking, and she's not just talking to her countrymen about her plans, but to the world powers that be about her stance when it comes to issues of African resources and its relationships. She's asking all the important questions, ladies and gentlemen, and implementing some of the most drastic policies ever to be implemented by a female president, when even male presidents from other African countries are struggling to discuss them. The wonderful part is Namibia is currently an all-female affair. The president is a female, a woman, and a vice president is also a woman, and the two seem totally unperturbed, unscared of any foreign powers or policies. I mean, just take a look at this video. We'll be right back.
We cannot continue as a country and continent whereby we send our resources to be processed in other countries, which means we are importing jobs of our young people. And that's why value addition and value chain are the things that we have to look seriously, particularly that we produce more or less the same goods. Both of our countries are producers of uranium. Namibia in particular, we are third uranium producers in the world. And there's no reason why we cannot talk about nuclear energy. If other countries in the world are using it, why can't we use it? It's reliable and it's more strong and will enable us to have enough energy in our region.
Now, the video you just watched was when she went on a visit to Tanzania just this past week in May. I mean, this president doesn't seem to care about who or any of the foreign powers which are there. Remember, this is the same president who on April 1st, 2025, implemented a change in Namibia's visa policy, which now requires U.S. citizens and nationals from 32 other countries to obtain a visa prior to entering the country of Namibia. She literally ended the previous visa-free entry arrangement for all these nations because she couldn't understand why Namibian nationals need visa to enter those countries, but they didn't need visas to come to Namibia. This is who she is, a no-nonsense woman. She couldn't make sense of it, just as I personally cannot make sense of it. A president with more balls than most male presidents of Africa. Could it be, ladies and gentlemen, that perhaps the women can do better in some cases than the men when given the chance to lead in Africa? Could it be, ladies and gentlemen? Because for the first time in Africa's history, we had 3 sitting presidents who were females. Her Excellency Madame Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah of Namibia was one. Her Excellency Madame Samia Suluhu Hassan, President of Tanzania, and Her Excellency Madame Sahle-Work Zewde, President of Ethiopia, who just lost her position as president last year, was also the third. This has been a record-breaking era. There is so many interesting things happening in Africa around this time. This Namibian president pretty much caught hold of the spirit of Captain Traore and is running with it. In fact, she just announced that beginning in 2026, all tuition and registration fees at public universities and vocational training centers in Namibia will be fully subsidized by the government, meaning they will be completely free to attend. When she's able to implement this policy by next year, ladies and gentlemen, do you know the class of countries Namibia will be ranked in? Ask yourself this. How many African countries have 100% free university education system right now? It's a handful. This is the short list of those countries: Mauritius, Egypt, Morocco, Botswana, and Tunisia. So far in Africa, these are the only 5 countries with free university education, which actually means 2 sub-Saharan African countries only. Rwanda, Kenya, and South Africa have theirs subsidized, but not free. When this woman achieves this feat, ladies and gentlemen, Namibia will add up to the only 5 African countries with free tertiary education. For this and other reasons, I take her words quite seriously. My only worry is her age. I wish she came in younger. She will turn 73 in October this year. Tanzania president is 65, which is quite okay. But ladies and gentlemen, we don't have to play softball with any foreign country for any reason any longer. We need to stand up for our own laws and act in favor of our countries. If the Europeans can have nuclear energy for cheap and stable power supply, we can do same in Africa. If the West require that we get visas before we move to their countries, we must equally demand visas when they come here. There is actually zero need for any African country to be chasing, or people to be chasing after visas to these countries when we put our own homes in order. You will hardly see people from Namibia loitering around in all these Western countries. Same applies to people from Botswana and South Africa. They hardly travel anywhere. When we put our countries in order, everything will be possible right here. Namibian citizens, just like most African nationals, don't have free visas to any of these Western countries. For what reason should we allow them, for them to come in without visas, ladies and gentlemen? One thing I learned the hard way living in China was that the Chinese always prioritized their people ahead of anything else or anybody else. When it comes to investment and tourism, they always looked for things from within. Africa wouldn't have been dependent on tourism from outside the continent for foreign revenue if we made our tourism attractive and accessible amongst our people. That is the challenge. On any national holidays in China, the Chinese people tour their own country. Flights are booked out. Trains, buses, hotels are all sold out. As a matter of fact, let me give you the official figures for last year and this year in China in terms of revenue. Last year in 2024, the domestic tourism industry in China generated 166.8 billion yuan, which is equivalent to 23 billion US dollars in their Labor Day holiday alone. This year in Chinese Spring Festival in late March and February, the domestic tourism industry made 677 billion yuan in 2 weeks, which is equivalent to 94 billion United States dollars. Ladies and gentlemen, Africa isn't using our numbers for the right purposes. We are 1.5 billion people, and we hardly tour African countries except for when it's for economic reasons. This Namibian female president and Her Excellency Madame Arikana Chihombori Kwao of Zimbabwe are so far the 2 African women of authority who are upfront with their disdain for the situation of African countries. The other day, Madame Arikana said this in a video, which I'm going to show to you shortly, and lost her position as permanent representative of the African Union to the United States in 2019. Let's watch this video.
The disrespect is not just for the Africans on the continent. The disrespect is for black people around the world. The abuse is not just for Africans on the continent. The abuse is for black people wherever you find us. Our leaders, our ancestors who fought the wars of resistance, their heads, their remains are sitting in jars throughout Europe. And the same people have the audacity to come to Africa and talk to us about human rights. But what's even more disturbing is that we entertain them. And we don't remind them of these skeletons in their closet.
Such courageous words of criticism and the need for action in the face of power by a woman. This era is a war era. It is a war for our total liberation from the West, a war for an identity and economic freedom. There is no point in allowing for this level of oppression and suppression to continue. We have to get better as a continent. We need to chart a new course, ladies and gentlemen. We don't need to toe the line of our colonial rulers. Captain Traore has set the pace, and it's left up to the rest of us to push forward the agenda. This has to be deliberate and forceful. We must end this white supremacist complex in Africa. We must believe in ourselves and in our solutions. We must fight for our unity and prevail. We cannot allow for anyone or any group to divide us anymore, ladies and gentlemen. The future is bright for Africa, and we must take action now. I love this continent, and I know the worst times are all behind us. Better times are coming, folks. Better days are still ahead. Let's get to work until we see it happen. And thank you for taking time to watch this video. Be sure to subscribe and click on the notification bell to see more of my videos. And for those who are yet to subscribe, I can only encourage you to do so. I'll come your way with another one very soon. Until then, God bless Africa, and it's bye-bye for now.